Welcome to the latest episode of Five on the Floor on the Five Reasons Sports Network. Thanks for joining us on your favorite podcast app, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Red Circle. Also on the Five Reasons YouTube channel. Make sure you hit like, subscribe, and turn the notifications on. Also want to thank our great sponsors. That includes Water Cleanup of Florida. Go to WCUFL.com, WCUFL.com. Reach out to Michael, Robert, and his team. Based in Boca Raton, but they service the entire Tri-County area down here. And if you have any kind of mold damage, water damage, they will do it for you. They will clean it up for you. And if you mention Five Reasons, you'll get a discount as well. Also, join their preventative program. Their preventative program will help you in case the insurance companies don't want to pay for it after the fact. Make sure that they go through your entire house, your place of business, WCUFL.com. If you've got the schmutz, they've got the guts. And now, today's episode.
Down the bitch gang. Yikes. Five on the floor, ride for my dogs. Where here's the thing, you can check the score. Hustle hard, couple scars, wearing bubble frauds. Just like Butler said, you in trouble, y'all. Kept the floor playing, got it all banned. Y'all seen the block, stop with one hand. And Pat we trust, it's power, have the guts. We're here to bring the heat, y'all can hang it up.
Welcome to Five on the Floor, a daily insider show on the Miami Heat and the NBA, featuring Ethan Skolnick, Greg Sylvander, and Alex Toledo, plus others from the Five Reasons Sports Network.
All right, welcome back to Five on the Floor. Here's today's floor plan. I've got Alex Toledo. You can follow him at Tropical Blanket, and the newest member of the Miami Heat's coaching staff, Wayne Ellington. I remember having a conversation with you, Wayne, while you were still with the Heat, before you were traded and ended up in Detroit, and then when you came back with the Detroit Pistons, and I know that this was a place that you really enjoyed your time. Did you think at some point you would be back in this organization in some way?
It's funny, just talking to people around the organization, especially Spo, he was always like, we're going to get you back in some capacity at some point, but you never know how real it is until it happens. But I always had hope that, if we could make it happen in some way. So here we are.
When did you start thinking about coaching? Because, I'm looking back at your numbers. You shot almost 40% from three in your last season with the Lakers in 21-22. Did you think that you could still play at that point and wanted to continue to play?
Yeah. To be honest with you, I feel like I can still play, but that's just not where I'm at mentally. Physically, I feel good, but, things change, though. Family matters, and you got three young kids at home. It just felt like it was just time to switch gears a little bit.
Saw your Instagram post, and you were talking about the transition, and players talk about that, like when they give up on playing, kind of what that's like for them mentally.
Yeah.
When did you think you got to that place? And did you always think, okay, if I end up transitioning out of playing, that coaching is the direction that I want to go?
Yeah, I probably got there about 6 months ago. Last season was my first year off and not being a part of a team, and since I can remember, to be honest with you. This past year, I had a lot of time to relax and sit back and reflect, spend a lot of time with my family away from the game. And ultimately, it was my decision that I wanted to stay in the game somehow. I missed it. I missed all the things that came with it, the locker room, the plane rides, the bus rides, all the things in between. And I just knew that I wanted to get back in the game in some capacity, in some way. I wasn't sure if it was going to be coaching. I didn't know exactly how it was going to be, but I knew I wanted to stay in the game.
So Wayne, just now, like after this this transition, what's it been like for you to, be back at work with the Heat, but now you're on the other side, right? Like you're with the assistant coaches now, and like you said, and we believe you. We know you can still shoot the hell out of that ball, and maybe they can amend the rule where, like, if all the Heat shooters are injured, they can bring you in and you can get a few minutes. But like, what's it like for you now to be on that side, and now you're trying to help a team win, but just in a different way?
Honestly, it's been kind of natural for me. It hasn't been something that I've had to make a huge adjustment or change anything. I feel like I've always been a leader. Well, even while I was playing in the locker room, I've always been a guy that's tried to help guys and help them push forward in any way that I could. So that's kind of the same as this role that I'm in right now. I'm trying to help guys get better. Obviously, you say I'm on the other side, and I get that, but at the same time, it's kind of like in between. I'm always that guy that can bridge the players to the coaching staff. So, I've been enjoying it so far. I've been really enjoying it. I've been learning a lot, obviously, from Spo and the guys. And I'm honored to be a part of the best staff in the association. It's been a great learning experience, but at the same time, it's kind of been like a natural fit kind of for me.
All right, so we're watching you at training camp in Boca, and you're closing out on Josh time after time after time, making him shoot those contested jumpers. I guess, was it a condition of your coaching that Josh had to be back here? There had to be somebody that you played with in the backcourt. And what is, I mean, what's that like? Because like you said, it is, you're kind of in between here a little bit. I know Udonis sort of filled a role, but he was on as being kind of that liaison to the coaching staff, but he was a player over the past few years, even though he wasn't playing a whole lot. But you're, in a certain way, you're kind of Josh's boss now, like, right? I mean, there's certain liberties that you could take.
I mean, we're still brothers. And I am his coach. I wouldn't say I'm his boss. I'm his coach, but yeah, definitely. The relationship still stays the same. I think he looks at me a little differently now, especially when we're here within the building. But he understands my position, and he understands that I'm here to help him. I'm here to help him get better. And you saw that day when I was running at him and making him shoot some contested closeout threes because he passed up a couple of them in the scrimmage. So I'm like, hey man, you gotta be ready to shoot those things, man. Those are gonna be great opportunities for you. You got to get comfortable there. So immediately after practice, we got together and we worked on it. And that's kind of how things have gone so far. I got relationships with a lot of the guys on the team, and I think it makes it easier for them to be able to trust me to help them with their game and so on and so forth.
What did you talk to about how to become a coach? In other words, obviously, Spo and the staff, you're going to lean on them, but were there any former players that you were associated with in any way that you knew that went into coaching to sort of talk about what that transition would be like?
Well, I talked to quite a few people, honestly, not just former players, but also Hall of Fame coaches. I talked to Roy Williams a lot, who was my college coach, who just retired, and I spoke to him a lot about it, and we had some very great in-depth conversations. I also spoke to somebody I really, really trust, who was my coach here, and Juwan Howard, and he kind of took the same approach as me. When he finished playing, he was in between if he wanted to, coach or if he wanted to get into, some front office stuff. So we had a great conversation as well that helped push my decision forward. And but I think there's a short list of my trusted network and people that have a great relationship with that I got input from, and it definitely helped me and shaded me into the decision I made to be a coach.
So Wayne, you guys had mentioned what we got to see at training camp when you were doing that closeout drill with Josh. I know the Heater and Spo is somebody who will always tell guys, shoot the damn ball when you're open. It's not about, taking any sort of forced shots, but when that shot is open, you've got to take it, whether you're one of
fly.
Exactly. Let it fly. Whether you're one of the team's dedicated movement shooters or not, whether you're someone who's just there to space the floor, you've got to take that open shot. And, once you said that about Jay Rich, that he passed up a couple of open ones, and that's where you guys were drilling it down that day, that made me interested a little bit. So it's like, how often are you doing that with other players, and how often does it just come down to confidence, right? And I'm not talking about Richardson specifically, just guys in general, when it's like, take that shot when it's open. Is that everything that it comes down to? Is it just as simple as that? Basketball is simple, take the open shot, or is it about reading when a guy is closing out? What do you try to teach guys when it comes to
there's definitely reads that have to be made. Obviously, And some guys are more comfortable with it than others. But it's definitely a mindset. It's definitely a mindset to be able to be prepared before the ball arrives to you, to be able to step into it and shoot it. But Rich is a guy that's very capable of it. We're not telling everybody to let it fly. We're telling guys that we know that are capable shooters to let it fly, that we know that are going to get those shots, and then we know that we need them to make those shots in order to keep the defense honest. And Rich is one of those guys. So, I mean, there's everybody's, it's all personal. It's all detailed to the individual. But, yeah, obviously, shooting is a huge thing within our offense, and it's something that we value. So, whenever I see a guy that I know that's capable, that we want shooting the ball, that's when I'll step in and make sure I get them comfortable and be able to wrap their mind around, being confident to step in that and let it fly. Is what, when you got your coaches behind you and telling you shoot the ball and feeding confidence into you, I mean, that makes a player's job so much easier.
So another thing is Heat fans are very familiar with what you did and why you were here. And you were kind of, I feel like, ahead when it comes to the way that the Heat use their movement shooters now, where it's just constant actions, constant post splits, dribble handoffs, just basically trying to leverage the shooter and create offense out of that. We've seen it with Duncan Robinson. We've seen it with Max Strus. And last night we saw it to a degree with Cole Swider. So I just wanted to ask you, when it comes to that, the art of movement shooting and, coming off a curl and all these different actions that Heat use for their shooters and those types of guys, how hard is it to teach that? And I know like guys like Duncan, they're already great at it. So I'm not necessarily talking about him, but just in general, how hard is it to become that type of movement shooter? And is it something that you as an assistant coach can help the shooters along with, just, being able to come off the screen and turn and fire, square your hips, square your shoulders? How hard is it to try to, I guess, get that across to guys who are trying to learn that skill set?
Yeah, well, you hit it on the head. It's definitely a skill set, and it takes a lot of time and discipline and dedication to be able to be good at it. I'll definitely be able to help with that, obviously, as that was that was my specialty. But like I said, it takes detail, it takes intent, and you got to really be able to want to put the time in. It's something that it doesn't come overnight. It's something you got to get used to. You got to make reads. There's a way to play. You're hunting threes, but you're doing it in a calculated way. You're just not out there flying around just trying to chuck up threes. You're doing it to be able to put the defense at a disadvantage. And you're trying to create space. Sometimes you're not just doing it for yourself, but for your teammates. Sometimes there's a play that is very unselfish. You got to be unselfish mindset too. You got to be able to say, okay, I'm going to move this way. I'm going to get here so that I can draw the defense, so this guy can get downhill and get to the basket, or I'm going to run at this guy and slip out of this screen so maybe he can, I'm draw two defenders so he can get a shot. So there's a mindset to it as well, and it takes a lot of patience, and you got to study the game, and you got to be in control of yourself, and you also got to be super cognizant of the offense and what we're trying to get to.
Two more here for Wayne Ellington. We appreciate him joining us, the newest member of the coaching staff. I want to take you back a little bit because obviously you had a great time here with the Heat, man with the golden arm, whole bunch of games with a ton of threes and all that. But what I remember you most from is what you did to the Heat during the Big Three era. I remember being in Memphis and you were unconscious. I think it was 7 threes in that game. There was another one down here. Did you have an out for them or something? Because it just seemed like you were there were certain guys that had games against that particular group, and you shot them out of the gym in Memphis. I just remember that. What was it about those matchups for you?
Well, obviously, we're playing against the Big Three. That was something that everybody wanted to do, right? Compete against those guys. So, when they're coming into the gym, you're going to show up. You better show up. But also, I knew that the Heat have this thing for signing guys that play well against them, right? So I wanted to make my way down here to South Beach, man, and be a part of this thing. But no, it was just a natural thing. I don't know exactly what it was. It wasn't like intentional. It was just, I don't know, man. I think those games I just got going, and obviously, playing against those type of competitors, those type of athletes, those type of players, you got to rise to the occasion. So I had some great games, and I'm thankful for that because I'm sure that's a huge part of the reason why I was able to put this Miami Heat uniform on.
Not just the Miami Heat uniform, but now as a member of the Miami Heat coaching staff. All right, last one here for Wayne Ellington. We again appreciate you taking the time. Shooting contest, end of practice. We got Duncan. We got Swider. Who else should we throw in the mix? I guess we'll throw Josh in the mix.
That's an elite group. I mean,
Drew Peterson
have some credentials to get into that group. I don't know if Peterson can get in there. Just so yet. Not yet. Right. But you can throw K-Love. K-Love can get in there.
All right. So let's throw K-Love.
Can get in there.
All right. And Tyler get in there for sure. And let's throw one more name in the mix, Wayne Ellington. So you all we got a rack. We got a rack of balls. You guys are going around. So we got Ellington, we've got Hero, let's do Swider after last night. We've got K-Love, and we've got Duncan.
Yep.
Where's Wayne fitting into that?
Hey man, I tell these guys every day. I tell Duncan every day. I say, Duncan, yo, you're the second best shooter in the world. I always tell him that. And who's first?
And you?
I always tell him I'm first, and then you're second. So you know my answer to that, man. When you're a shooter, I'm not putting anybody ahead of me. My confidence is still there. So when we get in the gym, I'm always saying I'm the best shooter in the gym. But no, man. We're gonna at some point we're gonna have some great shooting competitions, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think that's going to be fun on the road. Well, Swider said yesterday he's one of the best shooters in the world too, so he seems to have that same confidence that you do. So we'll see how that goes. We'll throw. You know what. I got to put this.
You have to have as a shooter.
You know what? Let's get Bam in those 3-point contests as well, but that's a whole separate conversation. Wade, we really appreciate the time. Newest member of the Heat coaching staff. It was always great to have him here when he was on the team, and he's back on the team. So thanks again, and hopefully we get a chance to talk to you throughout the season.
I really appreciate you guys for having me, and we'll talk again soon.
Thanks, Wayne.
Thanks.